Today, the United States Supreme Court holds an authority that stands apart from the rest of the federal government. 9 unelected judges have the power to completely strike down and cancel laws passed by both the President and Congress. Back in 1788, during the drafting of the U.S. Constitution, a political faction known as the Anti-Federalists looked at this exact judicial blueprint and panicked. Their fear was specific. They worried that creating a national court system where judges served for life would forge a ruling class of untouchable tyrants. Once seated, these judges could strip away the rights of individual states and citizens without ever facing a single voter. To defend the proposed government against these attacks, Alexander Hamilton stepped into the public debate. Writing under the pseudonym Publius, he published a series of essays outlining how the new system would actually work. In Federalist No. 78, Hamilton presents a paradoxical argument. He tells the public that they have nothing to fear from these judges because the judiciary is actually the absolute weakest part of the entire new government. This paradox, the weakest branch wielding the most final authority, defines the mechanical function of the American system of checks and balances. Hamilton breaks down the anatomy of government power. The executive holds the sword to enforce laws. The legislative commands the purse to control money and write rules. The judiciary has neither, wielding neither force nor will, but merely judgment. In practical terms, a judge can issue a ruling, but they do not have an army or a police force to make anyone obey it. The courts have to rely entirely on the executive branch to actually enforce their decisions. If the courts are physically powerless, how do they protect citizens from government overreach? The answer relies on the concept of a limited constitution, a system that places written boundaries on what the government is legally allowed to do. To maintain those boundaries, the courts possess the power of judicial review. This is the authority of judges to examine laws passed by Congress and void them if they contradict the text of the Constitution. Hamilton justifies judicial review by explaining that it does not make unelected judges superior to lawmakers. It simply means that the Constitution, which represents the permanent will of the people, outranks normal statutes passed by politicians. Far from being a flaw, judicial review is the mechanical referee required to keep a limited government from breaking its own rules. This creates a mechanical problem. How can a branch of government with no money and no army strike down a law that is supported by a powerful majority or an angry president? Hamilton's solution is lifetime appointments. The Constitution dictates that federal judges keep their jobs during good behavior, a provision that provides the judges with a distinct, independent spirit. This tenure protects the judges from the other branches. It ensures that they cannot be fired, defunded, or replaced just for making legally sound but politically unpopular rulings. That same independence acts as a shield for minority rights against what Hamilton calls the ill humors of society, the temporary political passions that occasionally sweep through the public. Hamilton also notes a practical requirement for these long tenures. The legal system is complex and requires long and laborious study. Guaranteeing a permanent job ensures the government can attract and keep experienced ethical experts on the bench. Lifetime tenure is not a royal privilege. It is the structural armor required to transform the weakest branch into an impenetrable citadel of public justice. Hamilton's arguments successfully quelled the anti-federalist fears. The Constitution was ratified, and Article 3 formally established this independent judiciary. That 18th century architectural blueprint directly dictates our political reality today, where federal judges and Supreme Court justices still serve lifelong terms. Modern judicial appointments carry weight far beyond a single election cycle. This chart shows how a president's selections permanently alter the courts. Looking at the demographic and party shifts between administrations, politicians rotate out, but judges remain anchored to the law. Alexander Hamilton successfully convinced the nation to strip the courts of all physical force and financial leverage. But in exchange for that fundamental weakness, he granted them absolute independence and interpretive supremacy. By intentionally designing the judiciary to be the weakest branch, Hamilton ensured that its only true strength is its adherence to the Constitution.